Thanks. I'm not going to talk about democracy or voting, really, actually, but I am going to try and talk a little bit about something that's a little bit governance-like. Apologies to those of you who have seen this before, although that was a year ago when I had no idea what it was about and hadn't identified any of the important trade-offs. So there's new things. So what I'm interested in is I guess it's really an economics paper with a little bit of political economy and corporate governance. I'm interested in platform economies and sort of a problem that platforms, like large platforms, are kind of motivated here by thinking about large online platforms, although you can imagine other parts of the economy that are like this too. I'm interested in the problem that they face due to lock-in. And that's kind of they face what I think of as a fairly standard holdup problem, right? Platforms have lock-in with their clients for lots of reasons. There's network effects. Users have search costs. I'm going to, in particular, be interested in lack of interoperability across platforms that's going to lock in producers who are going to make some asset-specific investments. And the problem, of course, like the standard holdup problem that comes from lock-in is that once you join some platform, so whatever, you make an app and you're going to sell it on the App Store and you've optimized it for iPhones, right? Once you've made those sets of investments and you show up and you now face some lock-in because of lack of interoperability or whatever, the platforms become tempted to start jacking up costs, right? To jacking up fees, extracting rents from the producers of that content or those products in order to extract rents, and anticipating that those who build the content that goes on the platforms in the first place may be disincentivized from investing in creating them. Okay, so I'm interested in that kind of lock-in problem and thinking about governance as a possible solution and what the trade-offs look like when we think about governance as a solution. Okay, this kind of holdup problem I think is pretty ubiquitous. Certainly, if you're paying attention to like large online platforms, you hear all the time about Amazon increasing fees on sellers, or you hear about there's been lots of lawsuits recently about Google Play or the Apple App Store using market power. There's this, I like this quote from the CEO of Spotify, that Apple has demonstrated that it will stop at nothing to protect the profits they extract on the back of their developers under their App Store monopoly. It's a good one. If you have, like I do, so when Apple launched its VR headset, right? Netflix and Spotify and YouTube all refused to list on the App Store for that because they were worried about this sort of practice that Apple has had on its App Store. If, like me, you have a teenage son, you might have followed when Epic Games tried to change the rules for the way they extracted fees for developers on their gaming platform and the revolution that led to. So I think this lock-in problem is pretty ubiquitous on these kind of large Web 2E kind of platforms. And increasingly, we are hearing, as we are today, like lots about those platforms and others in this space playing around with devolved governance. We haven't actually seen a governance solution to this problem. Like we haven't seen anybody try to implement the thing I'm going to try and talk about today. But we are seeing lots of experiments with handing over power over important kinds of business decisions to try and solve problems that are endemic to platform economies. And so I'm interested in this idea that maybe governance is also a solution, what seems to me to be a really first order business problem for platform economies quite broadly. So here's the kind of results I'm going to try and get at. First, I'm going to suggest to you that governance presents a real trade-off for platforms. On the one hand, implementing a governance solution, and here what governance can mean lots of things in this setting. What I'm going to be in particular interested in is handing some power over these business decisions from the platform owner to the content developers who sell on the platform. That's what I'm going to have in mind when I talk about governance. So governance of that sort is going to induce a trade-off here. And that trade-off is going to look like it is going to be a potential solution to the holdup problem. It's going to incentivize producers to invest more ex ante in making good products for the platform, but it's going to come with trade-offs too. And in particular, it's because it's tying the hands of the platforms and limiting their ability to extract rents, it's going to disincentivize the platform owners themselves from making welfare improvements on the platform over time. So they are, in the normal course of things, absence governance, going to be using some of those rents to invest in the platform. And when they can't extract as many of the rents because they're locked into the fees they're charging to the people selling on the platform, they're going to do less, and there's going to be some efficiency losses there. So I'm going to show you that set of trade-offs, and then I'm going to think a little bit about, are we getting the right amount of governance? And I'm going to do that by thinking about extending the model to allow kind of endogenous investment in governance. And so I'm going to think about what is the willingness to pay of a platform owner for governance relative to what is the willingness to pay of a utilitarian social planner for governance. I'm going to show you that they're essentially, other than when governance just doesn't matter at all, because everything's so expensive, nobody's providing any products. They're never equal. And in particular, sometimes the platform's owner's willingness to pay for governance is higher than the social planners, and sometimes it's less. And we'll be able to tell you when. And in particular, the platform owner's willingness to pay for governance is going to be lower than the social planners, precisely when governance matters for getting good outcomes. Okay, so when governance can incentivize investments that are good for consumer welfare and the like, okay, so that you're going to get those investments with governance and not get them without, it's exactly then that the platform owners undervalue governance. And the reason is because they don't care about they can't collect all the rents from governance, and they don't care about the consumer's welfare. Okay, so we're going to get under provision of governance precisely when it matters. And when governance doesn't matter, that is to say, it doesn't matter for outcomes, but it does matter for kind of which platform in platform competition wins the race to become the dominant platform. So when you don't need governance to incentivize investment, but you can win the race with, sort of Apple can win the race against Google by providing governance when Google isn't. In that world, platforms overvalue governance relative to the social planner, and we're going to get too much of it. And I'm going to have some extensions, including sort of thinking about endogenous interoperability, allowing platforms to make upfront transfers that I'm definitely not going to get to before 536. Thus, they're in gray. Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit about this model and how it works. I'm going to try and do as stripped down a version of this as I can to get at the fundamental trade-offs and be able to have some tight things to say about these welfare trade-offs. So I'm going to think about two ex-ante identical platforms. Okay. Call them A and B. I'm going to think about one producer. So the producer is large relative to the economy. The producer matters to the platforms. I'm going to think about a unit mass of consumers, each with unit demand for whatever good it is that this producer is producing, indexed by I, and they're going to have these opportunity costs Xi that are uniformly distributed. That's just going to give me a demand function. Okay. The timeline, I know this looks horrible. I apologize. So the timeline of the game is simple, though. The platforms at the beginning of the game set fees for people selling their good on their platform. The producer decides whether they want to enter the market, and if they do want to enter the market, they choose a platform to join. They choose whether or not to invest in quality, so that's just going to be a binary choice. I can make a regular good for free, that's going to be Q equals 1, or I can make a high quality good, Q equals theta. And they're going to choose a price to charge for the product. Consumers are then going to decide whether or not to purchase the product. And then we're going to do it again with in period 2, with the exception that before we get that going in period 2, the platforms are going to have an opportunity to make improvements on the platform that enhance the value to consumers of a high quality good. Okay, and we're just going to do that twice, and then the game's going to end. Questions about the timeline? Okay. Quality, and this is going to be the idea of interoperability here. Quality investments are going to be platform specific. Okay, so I can just make my standard crappy product. I can sell it wherever. It's the same value everywhere. Okay, or I can choose to make a really good app, and I gotta write it for the App Store. I gotta write it for Google Play. Okay, so my investment is platform specific. I can use it on either platform, but it's going to be better on the platform it was built for. Okay, so if I invest in quality for platform A, the value of that thing to consumers on platform A is going to be theta. And if later I decide to sell it on platform B, its value to consumers is going to be reduced by an amount alpha, which is less than 1. Okay, so we can go all the way from alpha. If alpha equals 1 over theta, right, then the value of it on platform B is just 1. It's the same as a good as your usual crappy good, right? So that's no interoperability at all. I could go all the way up to perfect interoperability. Interoperability is going to be somewhere in between. Okay, so alpha is a measure of the amount of interoperability between these two platforms. Okay, and I have to pay to invest in quality. And that amount is going to be called K theta. Platforms can upgrade. So if a platform decides to upgrade, right, it can either leave its platform as it is, or it can enhance its platform by an amount mu. Mu is going to be a quality enhancing Platform, so platform enhancements are going to be complementary to high quality goods. That's actually not an important assumption. Like everything I'm going to tell you is true also if platform upgrades are good for the good and the bad good. But there's more. The pictures I'm going to show you look a lot worse. So I'm going to do it like this, but it's not important. Okay, and so this is just the value of the thing of a high quality good goes up on an upgraded platform, and platforms have to pay to upgrade. We're going to call that K mu. Okay, and payoffs here are just exactly what you would think. Okay, so consumers, if they purchase the good, they get the value of the good minus the price they have to pay and their opportunity costs. Again, the opportunity costs are just to give us a continuous demand function. Producers get the number of sales they have times their revenue per sale, right? So the price, the price they're charging minus the fee they have to pay per transaction, minus any costs of investment they make, and platforms get their fee per sale times the number of sales minus any fees they have. So everything here is exactly sort of the payoffs you would expect. Okay. And what governance is going to mean here is just one thing. In the model with governance, we're going to say that the platform is devolved governance to the producer, which is to say that if the platform wants to change fees, change the per transaction fees in the second period relative to the first period, they need the approval of the producer. Okay, so they can propose a change in fee and the producer can say yes or no. In equilibrium, the producer will say yes if they want to charge a lower fee and will say no if they want to charge a higher fee. So essentially, like, it's a way, governance here is just a way of the platform tying their hands to not increase fees. And so we can think about, I'm calling it governance here, but really there's lots of potential commitment mechanisms you could imagine thinking about.
So
right?
The fees are needed to improve the.
They're not needed to. So the producer the platform can always just do the upgrade if it wants to. It will, of course, only want to if by doing so, it can extract some more rents, right?
But there's no world where, in this model, where the developer wants the fees to go up, it becomes the platform so much that it's good for them to.
So it could be the case that you're asking, is there ever a Pareto improvement to be had where the producer
votes for the fee.
votes for a fee increase?
Yeah, could they offer a bundle of the?
Yeah. So I have to think about. Let me think about if they all like. So the way I wanted to think about it is, it seems to me that, like, in general, it's not right to say that the platforms know enough about what their upgrades are going to look like over the long run that it's contractable. And so it seemed to me like they face this commitment problem, which is why the timing is such that they can't commit ex ante, right? To, like, I'll give you this transfer and I'll do the and you agree to it. But there could potentially be Pareto improvements.
That seems like something distinguishes it from as governance as opposed to just pure commitment power.
Yeah, so that's right. So exactly. So they're delegating this governance precisely because, like, underlying all of this has to be, right, has to be an incomplete contracts problem, because otherwise, ex ante, if they could just write a contract on everything, we're going to do these upgrades in the future, we're going to have the fee, then there's no problem, and you can just achieve, right, the second best. So there's like an underlying assumption of incomplete contractability motivating the whole thing. Right, we just think, like, Apple doesn't know exactly what it's going to want to do to the App Store 5 years from now, and so it can't write a contract with its producers right now that looks like a complete description of what they're going to do. If they could, there'd be no problems at all.
But they could offer a contract that was, if your revenue, we're going to charge an increasing fee if revenue is above something like a nonlinear fee, essentially that's conditional on revenue, and that builds in the commitment to then that creates the incentive to grow the.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm going to focus here on asymmetric governance. When I show you the governance model, the one platform having governance, the model with symmetric governance is very simple. Everybody competes down to zero rents, and in equilibrium, we'll never get symmetric governance. We'll never get both platforms paying anything to have governance. I'm going to skip the related literature. Okay, so let me just quickly tell you what equilibrium looks like. I'm gonna be a little bit here, sort of casual in my presentation, but so we're just going to get, like, we're going to get a demand function out of these opportunity costs, right? Because they're distributed. And so, right, for any value and any price, we're gonna have demand. That's gonna vary in a very simple way, since all the functional forms here are nice, give us an equilibrium price given the value and the fees charged. That's going to give us the producer's rents or producer's profits in the second period, right, which is just the demand times the price. And similarly, it's going to give us the platform's profits in the second period, or the platform's revenue in the second period, which is just the fee they charge times the demand, from which we can calculate what second period looks like. The important things in the second period are that the incumbent platform, the platform that, right, we're doing backward induction here, the platform that won in the first period, it's going to win in the second period too. Why? Because of lack of interoperability, right? So the incumbent platform is advantaged in a world in which a quality investment has been made, right? If a quality investment has been made, the good is more valuable on the incumbent platform. They're going to be able to charge fees, right? If everybody charged the same fees, obviously the producer prefers to stay on the platform where the good is more valuable. That means that even if the non-incumbent platform is offering a fee of nothing, like you can transaction here for free, the incumbent platform can win at a positive fee, and in particular in the standard holdup way, they're going to extract all the rents, right? So they're going to charge a fee in the second period, which makes the producer exactly indifferent between switching over to the other platform at a fee of nothing and swallowing the lack of interoperability, and staying with the incumbent platform. So they're going to extract all the rents in the second period from the producer. That is the holdup problem. And then we can say, well, given that they're going to do that, right, when are they going to invest in upgrades? And they're going to invest in upgrades just in this simple comparing the revenue in a world in which I did invest in upgrades and the revenue in a world in which I didn't. Because I get to then change the fees, I get to extract all the rents from upgrades. Right. So if I do an upgrade, now the good is even more valuable on my platform. I can charge you an even higher fee. So we're going to get efficiency in upgrades in the second period, right, in a world without governance, because I'm going to exactly change fees to extract all the rents that the upgrades created. And so we get efficient provision of upgrades in a world without governance. And moreover, the producer in the world without governance is completely indifferent as to whether or not there's upgrades, because they don't get to keep any of the rent. Right, they're selling a more valuable good at a higher price, but they're paying exactly proportionally higher fees to the platform. Okay, and so that's just going to give us a threshold for the cost of upgrades at which the platform is willing to provide those upgrades. These are the things I just said. And then if we roll back to the first period, we just ask, well, can the firm, is the producer going to in fact invest in a high quality good? At the beginning of this game, without governance, the two platforms are identical, right? They don't offer differential continuation values or anything. So they have to compete each other down to offering fees of nothing. Because if you ask for a higher fee, the other platform can undercut you, you lose, and then you're not the incumbent in the future, you're going to make zero rent. So in the first period, they're going to compete each other down to no fees at all. And the producer now is just going to ask, well, should I do the crappy good and make what I make each period? Should I do the good, knowing I'm going to make more today? Tomorrow they're going to extract a bunch of the rents by increasing the fees. That's going to depend on the cost, and we're just going to get an answer to that question that again depends on now the cost of investing in quality. And of course, the more interoperable the systems are, right? The higher alpha is our measure of interoperability. The more interoperable the systems are, the more willing they are to invest in quality, because if the systems are super interoperable, then the platforms don't have very much bargaining power in the second period to extract, right? It's the lack of interoperability is what's giving these platforms power in the second period. So if we had super interoperable things, there wouldn't be much of a holdup, and we'd get lots of quality. Okay, so that's just what the equilibrium correspondence looks like in the world without governance. On the x-axis here, we have the cost of investing in quality for the producers. On the y-axis, we have the cost of investing in upgrades for the platforms. If the cost of investing in quality is low enough, we get quality investment. And above and below some threshold, if the costs of platform upgrades are low enough, we also get platform upgrades. Okay, this is very simple. The one last thing I want you to see about this world is we think about welfare, and we think about welfare as a function of interoperability. The only one I really want you to pay attention to here is can you see the cursor? Yeah, this light gray one here, or medium gray, I guess it's medium gray. So it starts at 0. This is the welfare of the platform that ends up the incumbent platform. notice the voter is indifferent at ex ante, right? So either like it's arbitrary who wins. So whoever ends up being the winning platform. For low levels of interoperability, they cannot incentivize quality investment, and they're just not making any rents at all, right? And then as interoperability goes up, so they're going to extract less rents. This is the holdup problem. If interoperability is high enough, right, all of a sudden we're going to get quality investment. And for everybody, quality investment is good. Okay. Now, for everybody else, as interoperability goes up, things get better and better and better. But for the winning platform, the optimal level of interoperability is just enough to incentivize investment in quality. After that, interoperability is bad because interoperability is eroding their bargaining power, right? So they want enough interoperability that they're not worried that the holdup problem is not preventing them from achieving quality, but after that, interoperability is bad because it takes away their bargaining power, their ability to extract. Okay, now let's think about the same model, but we allow platform A to have asymmetric governance. So platform A offers governance, platform B does not. Okay, so if B is the incumbent in the second period, everything is just as I just told you, because B faces the exact same problem we just had. But if A is the incumbent, A is now constrained, right? It can't change its fees without the permission of the producer, which is to say it's never going to be able to increase its fees. Okay. So what's that going to mean? A is going to face essentially the same problem, but it's not going to quite be able to extract all the rents, right? If it set some fee, now we're in the second period, platform B is less attractive than it used to be, but A is not going to be able to ramp up fees to extract all the rents. The first thing that means is sometimes it will forego platform upgrades that otherwise would have done, right? Why? Because what does a platform upgrade do? It makes my platform more profitable directly, but it also makes it more attractive to the producer. And so in a world without governance, that lets me extract some more rents from the producer. But now I can't do it because I'm locked into my fee. So the only benefit I'm getting is the goods more valuable. So there's more transactions going on. So I'm making more transactions at the same level of fee, but I don't get to also get that added benefit of ramping up the fee. So we're going to lose some efficient transactions. We're going to get inefficiency. So we're going to lose some efficient upgrades, right? We're going to not do some upgrades that are social welfare enhancing because the platform can't extract the rents from it. And that note means that producers now like platform upgrades because they don't lose the rents, right? They don't get all stolen away. Platform upgrades, in fact, make the good more valuable. Fees stay the same, and producers are benefiting. Okay. So that's what the second period is going to look like. It's going to look just like before, except that you have this constraint on fees and therefore less provision of platform upgrades. And then you have this kind of, so from the perspective of platform A at the beginning, right? If they can incentivize quality, then they're going to make rents. And if they can't, everybody can beat down to zero. So from perspective of platform A, in the first period, what they care about is incentivizing quality, right? If they can incentivize quality, they make positive rents. If they can't, they make nothing. So they really want to incentivize. Their first order problem is to incentivize quality. And then they want to charge, right, the highest fee they can, consistent with incentivizing quality. It should be clear the platform that's offering governance is going to win here. Why? Because let's imagine both platforms offer the same fee, right, in the first period. In the second period, we know that platform B is going to ramp up its fees, and we know that platform A is not going to be able to, right? And so the producer is going to prefer to stick with the platform that isn't going to ramp its fees. So governance lets you become a winner, right? And if you can incentivize quality, then you're going to make positive rents.
It allows you to be a winner with a positive price. Like you're not going to.
Correct, exactly. So if they're both charging zero, A wins for sure, and A wins strictly, and now A can charge a positive price, right? And so now what's going to happen? A is going to increase its price right up until the point at which it's no longer winning. And a question for us is it going to ramp up its price enough that it's willing to invest in platform upgrades, or is that too high a price that it can't win, and therefore it's going to have to charge a lower price and not the platform? Okay. So the platform A faces some constraints. It has to choose a fee such that the producer prefers it to be with an investment in quality as well as to be with an investment in no quality. Okay. It is easier to incentivize quality investments. It's easier to incentivize quality investments if the producer anticipates that you're going to upgrade, because the producer is now realizing some of the benefits of those upgrades, which they're not without governance. And so we're going to have two different constraints. We're going to be able to say, what's the highest fee I can charge you if you believe that I'm going to upgrade? And what's the highest fee I can charge you if you believe I'm not going to upgrade? Those are going to be our two constraints. Okay, those look like this. So we've got the cost of investing in quality on the x-axis. The darker line that's above, that's the highest fee I could charge you if, in fact, in the second period, I'm going to upgrade the platform. And here is the highest fee I can charge you if I'm, in fact, not going to upgrade the platform. And then we just ask, well, at this higher fee, will you invest in quality? And if the answer is yes, I charge that higher fee and I upgrade the platform. And if at this higher fee, you're not going to, but at this lower fee, you would invest in quality, even though I'm not going to upgrade the platform, then I charge you that lower fee. I don't upgrade the platform, right? And of course, if I can't satisfy either constraint, then there's nothing I can do, and I'm not going to be able to incentivize you to invest in quality. So here's what the equilibrium correspondence looks like with governance. This is now, again, that same picture where on the x-axis, we have the cost of investing in quality, and on the y-axis, we have the cost of upgrades. It's no longer this simple linear thing because the highest fee I can charge you depends on k theta. Okay, but again, we get something that looks similar. Okay, so for low costs of investment and for low costs of upgrades, we get both. Right up here, we get quality but no upgrades. And notice there's this triangle here where we are getting quality and we're getting upgrades where we can't get upgrades up here. So here it is true, as I'll show you in a second, that governance makes it easier to incentivize quality by solving the holdup problem, makes it harder to get platform upgrades, right? Makes it harder to get platform upgrades because I'm not going to be able to extract all the rents. But there is this little area here where, in some sense, it's still easier to get platform upgrades, except I can't get quality. So here, for these really low costs of upgrades, where I can get quality only if I do upgrades, I'm going to do upgrades, and above for higher costs, I can't. Okay. Skip that and go straight to just the comparison. So this is the important comparison. This really shows the trade-off. This is those two pictures put together. Okay, and all I want you to see is this is our original cutoff without governance. So everywhere to the left of here, we're getting quality whether we have governance or not. Okay. And this is our original cutoff for no governance in terms of whether below here we get platform upgrades. So in this region here, okay, in this big gray region, we are getting quality under both systems, but we are getting upgrades if and only if we don't have governance, right? That's where the ability to ramp up fees in order to extract rent incentivizes platform upgrades. And then over here to the right, for higher costs of investing in quality, we're getting quality if and only if we have governance. Okay, so that's the trade-off we're facing. We get governance for a wider range of costs of providing quality. Sorry, governance gives us quality for a higher range of costs, right? For higher costs of quality. The absence of governance gives us platform upgrades for a bigger range of costs. And so let me just quickly show you, we'll just hone in on this one picture, which is the willingness to pay for governance. Okay, and so the light gray line is the social planner, and the dotted line is the platforms. And all I want you to see is here in the middle, between the cost cutoff for no governance and the cost cutoff for governance, the social planner's willingness to pay for governance is everywhere above the platforms. That is to say, right, when governance is a necessary condition for getting quality investment, right? You only get quality investment if you have governance to solve the holdup problem. Everybody has a positive willingness to pay for governance, but the social planner has a higher willingness to pay. And the reason for that is because there are spillovers onto consumers. When the platform can incentivize the producer to invest in governance, consumers are making consumer surplus from that, right? Consumers are buying that good at a price below their willingness to pay. And so we're getting consumer surplus out of quality investments. And so the social planner likes quality investment more than the platforms because it internalizes the benefits to not only to the platform and the producer, but also the consumer. So when governance is a necessary condition for getting quality, the social planner is more willing to pay for governance than are either of the platforms. And so we are getting under provision and equilibrium of governance. Over here on the left, where where costs of quality investment are very low. So you're gonna get quality investment whether or not you have governance. The social planner, all governance does now is if I buy governance and you don't, I turn myself into the winning platform. But we're gonna get quality no matter what. The social planner doesn't care whether A or B wins. That's who cares, right? That's just profits for one platform or another. Social planner couldn't care less. The platforms do care. And in particular, the platform that was going to lose if it didn't have governance cares a lot because it can buy governance and turn itself from a loser into a winner. And so the losing platform in the no governance world has a high willingness to pay for governance in order to turn itself into a winner and transfer profits from the other platform to it, which is something that the social planner doesn't care about at all. So in that world where governance doesn't matter for outcomes, okay, but does matter for which platform wins if it's asymmetric, we get over provision of governance. Platforms are too willing to invest in governance because you got to do governance to win in that world. And you can write that down as a model. Like you can extend the model to allow endogenous investment and get exactly that, but the spirit of it comes directly from the willingness to pay. Okay, I will stop there.